Well, one gets really lucky to transition from Zombieland to Gangster Squad because really this movie was a dream come true. You wouldn't think that after making a zombie comedy, anyone would let you work with Sean Penn or Ryan Gosling or Josh Brolin. But yeah, it was a transition I was really excited to make. It was just a bigger kind of palette to get to work with, and getting to do action of that scale and working with some of the world's greatest actors was just a dream come true. Gangster movies are some of my favorite movies ever made. Like, I think we can all agree The Godfather's pretty good. Goodfellas isn't so bad either. So there's some pretty great gangster movies out there that definitely informed my love for movies. And then as far as Los Angeles in the 40s, it's just a really glamorous period. It was really iconic. Everyone was coming back after the war. The country had gone through some really hard times through the Depression and then World War II, and there was just this exuberance. There was a zest for life, like the styles of the cars, the clothes, the music, everything was just like really fresh and new, and there was an excitement. And so it's an amazing time in American history, and I was really, really happy to get to bring it back to life.
Well, when I was a kid, I was a huge Dick Tracy fan, and so I guess I kind of came to learn about the genre through that film. And I also was like kind of had an affection for that time period as well, you know. So those were kind of in my head when I read the script, and it kind of like had like Dick Tracy type sensibilities, I thought. You know, for me, it was more of a draw to the time because. You know, when I first started watching films, like my parents, for whatever reason, only showed us movies from the 40s and the 50s. So I kind of learned about film through that time period. And so for me, like, to be able to make a film in that time, and also living in Los Angeles since I'm 16 and living in the shadows of that era, there was something kind of like cathartic about going into the heart of it.
I didn't know much about the gangster world, but the 40s, yeah, I had always been interested in. I really like movies of the 40s, so it gave me a good excuse to watch some of those.
I think I was fascinated once once I read it and they came to me and said, do you want to do this? And, I didn't know a lot about the era. I was more obsessed with like 70s gangster movies and, starting with like French Connection and that kind of high, and even though that's not necessarily a gangster movie, it is. But mob and corruption and cops and all that stuff. And then I think ultimately, I did a lot of reading like Jim Thompson. I'd done that before, James Ellroy. And, so I had a literary connection to this time. But then once you start to watch the movies and you get more into Bogey and you get more into those types of characters, it's fun. It's just a different cadence. It's a different mentality. So you put together a squad like this and actors like this, Anthony Mackie and Giovanni Ribisi. It's our fourth movie together. Michael Pena, who I've known for a while. Robert Patrick. There's such a diversity of characters that whether you're doing a gangster movie or not, that it's going to be an interesting group and it's going to be an interesting manifestation. So it's fun, but the actors are key for me.
I was only ever really with Sean or Ryan. I wasn't really there on the days that it was the whole gang. So I had heard that the gang altogether was pretty crazy. But that was my only experience with the whole, enchilada.
The action's always tough because I'm a little bit older now, so I feel it for much longer than I did in the past, in my hands or my joints and all that stuff. Not that I'm old, I'm not, but we were working out very hard, Sean and I, and he was boxing a lot, and I was doing a lot of Krav Maga, and so at a certain point, you're just kind of sore all the time and accept it. So when we finally did the fight, it was very satisfying because we weren't sure we could pull it off as well as we did, and it was good. It shouldn't have been as good as it was.
But I hope that this is seen as just being really fun, entertaining. I think it's pretty funny for a gangster movie. I think it's really a classic kind of throwback to the original Cagney, Edward G. Robinson genre films where we just embrace the genre and make a really fun, entertaining movie that doesn't take itself too seriously.
And it's a very fictionalized version of the truth, but but you know, rooted in somewhat in reality. You know, that there was this you know, group of men who did this very incredible thing. You know, they put their lives on the line in order to fight for the freedom of this city and for their families. And you know, in some ways, even though this is a sensationalized version of that, the truth is like somehow more unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I think it's a classic story of good versus evil, but in this movie, the good guys have to become a little bit bad to take down the bad guys. And so I think one of the biggest themes is just like, where's the line and how you be aware of that line and not cross it, or if you have to cross it, how do you get back? And I think, you know, Josh's character struggles with that a lot. But also Ryan's character, who's been sitting on the sidelines, has to join up and fight for what's right because of his personal connection to a friend that was lost. And so I think it's all about, like, when you stand up and what you're going to do, like, how far you're willing to go to do what's right. And that to me is the biggest theme of the movie.